Coniferous forest. That is in the northern half of the Earth, in northern Canada, in Alaska, in northern Europe and Scandinavia, Norway, Sweden, Finland, in the Baltic countries, Estland and Finland, in Russia, and then up in Siberia also. Now, and there are trees who are firs, pine, spruce, and fir. And they have needles. Now, and they have needles for a reason. The ground is covered with conifer needles a lot. There is a lot of coldness, so it's a lot cold, and the ground is frozen. And so that means the trees have for the most of the time of the year don't access to nutrients or water. And there's also the soil is also poor because the water is leaching away the nutrients. Now, and they have firs for a reason. Now the reason is that the surface of the fir is very much smaller than the leaf, and also have a thick cuticle inside of them. So that makes the water loss through them, the transpiration of the water, very much lower. And when spring hits, they can directly start to grow, because they having the needles for 3 to 10 years, and then they are losing only a few of them. So as soon as summer hits or spring, they can directly start to grow. And that makes these trees very good for afforestation schemes, because they grow quite fast. Now, in these regions where the rivers running upwards to the North Pole, to the Arctic Ocean. But it happens down spring and summer that the south of the river, so further down in the south, is already thawed all the way, the snow is melting and the ice is melting, the river is running upwards, but then the upper part of the river is not yet melted, and the water just keeps standing there, and there are many lakes and swamps. They are also scourged by the ice sheet which was there 10,000 years ago. And in Siberia there are some rivers running downwards also through the plains. And that thing is 1,000-2,000 kilometers, maybe 3,000 kilometers thick from the north down, and the whole belt is 13,000 kilometers big. And it's also often known as Tiger. That's according to Reader's Digest, Library of Modern Knowledge, Book 3, Part 22, Regions of the Earth, written by Hugh Clayton, John Coyle, Michael Frenchman, and D.H. Sinclair, on the page 1084 and 1085. If you click this video away, then please tell me what the reason for it was, so that I can improve. Otherwise, hi and welcome. I'm trying to learn climatology today, Coniferous forest, and after we've done it, we're gonna do hip training. And if you participate in the hip training, then it's at your own risk. Coniferous forest, a broad belt of needle-leaved evergreen trees, covers the higher latitudes of the northern hemisphere. So the northern part of the Earth, in northern Canada, northern United States of America and Alaska, and in Scandinavia, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and also in the Baltic countries, Estland and Litauen, and in Russia up to Siberia, there are a lot of these trees growing. Now here on the map, these are the grey with the fir trees on it. So here the topmost. So there's a broad band of around 1,000-2,000, 3,000 kilometers. And they are growing these evergreen trees, so they don't let the leaves fall down into the winter. They are all the time green, and they have needles, not leaves, needles, not needle. Its dominant species are spruce, fir, and pine, which grows in great stands. So spruce, fir, and pine, fir tree are growing there. A thick layer of conifer needles covers the ground. Now I say it like that, it has maybe an influence on how the water and how the ground is freezing. Certainly. So there's a thick layer of conifer needles. Soils are poor and acid because surface water leaches away nutrients. I don't know what leaches means or what it how means, but the soil is poor and also acid because the water leaches away the nutrients. If I'm able to say it just when I'm going to say it with exactly these words, it leaches away the nutrients. I try to memorize what I said here so that you can do a presentation from memory about it. Winters are long and severe. Long and severe winters, the ground being frozen for most of the time. Even in the brief summer, the forest floor remains cool. For most of the year, moisture in the soil is not available to the trees because it is frozen. Conifers survive because the needle leaves have a small surface area and a thick cuticle, however it's pronounced or what it is, which minimizes the water lost by transpiration. So by transpiration is it losing water. I don't really know what it means, but it sounds a bit like vaporization, transpiration goes over into the air, whatever. Some type of loss just because of being there. Okay, long and severe winters, the ground being frozen most of the time, but their needles have a little surface and a thick cuticle, whatever it is, in the middle, so that they're having a little water loss through transpiration. And a thick cuticle which minimizes water loss by transpiration. The leaves are changed only every 3 to 10 years and then not altogether. Retention of leaves through the winter conserves nutrients so that the trees are ready to resume growth in the spring. So conifers grow fast and make useful tree for afforestation schemes. They don't lose their leaves like other many trees, so they don't have to reproduce them, which would cost them a lot of energy. They keep them for 3 to 10 years, and then only a few are let fall down, and the other ones are staying on the tree. And they are directly able directly in spring to start their growing again, and that makes them good for, I don't know, it's afforestation to planting new trees, whatever. They're growing fast, and that makes them good for afforestation schemes. Great rivers cross the Coniferous belt to flow into the Arctic Ocean. I never thought about it, but it makes so much sense. The rivers in northern Russia and northern Canada are flowing to the north into the Arctic Ocean. And along the banks, vegetation is richer. There are extensive areas of lake and swamp which occupy hollows scored by the ice sheet that covered the ground about 10,000 years ago. Okay, that is a lot what I said here. The first thing is, there are some rivers going from Russia to the north, to the North Pole, basically, and flowing then into North Pole into the ocean, and also in Canada. And along these riverbanks, there's more vegetation. There are extensive areas of lake and swamp which occupy hollows scored by the ice sheet that covered the ground about 10,000 years ago. I don't know really what hollows are or scored, but I think what I mean is. What I mean is, 10,000 years ago there was an ice sheet, and that ice stripped something away from the ground or pressed into it molds, and now into these lower areas there's no water standing in, and that creates swamps. And lakes, swamps and lakes. So there are many lakes and swamps. Is that the origin of Canadian lakes? Melting snow and rain cannot run away. The lower courses of the rivers are in higher latitudes and remain frozen longer than the upper courses. Well, that is also a reason. Okay, what I mean is, if in the winter the ice sheet grows on the North Pole to the sides, even down to, I don't know exactly where, but almost to Iceland, so the Greenland, so a big part of the north is frozen. It was the ice pack now. Pack ice. So there's a lot of freezing down, and then in the spring it melts again from the bottom up again. But the rivers are going from northern Russia up to north. Here in the south it is already melted, but when in the north it is not melted, and the river cannot run there. Okay, and that stops the water in these swamps and lakes to rise. Melting snow and rain cannot run away. The lower courses of the rivers are in higher latitude and remain frozen longer than the upper courses. What is the lower course of a river? That is where the river runs to, I think. They are in higher latitude and remain frozen. Latitude just means they are higher in the north, not that they are higher. The water is not going upwards, and it's not higher, it's just because they are frozen because of thing. They are in higher latitude, they are more north. That's what we mean. What I just explained was. In spring, meltwater from the thawed upper courses cannot drain away to the Arctic Ocean, and this also results in swamps. On the upper courses. The lower courses of the river are in higher latitudes and remain frozen longer than the upper courses. Do they mean that there are mountains? In spring, meltwater from the thawed upper courses. So the lower courses are in higher latitude. It's altitude, a mountain is altitude. In spring, meltwater from the four upper courses. We're gonna just say there's a lot of frozen and the water cannot run the rivers properly down, and it keeps, but I'm missing a word. What is the word for it? The water cannot drain away. And what is the opposite of it? The water is, what is it called if water is somewhere staying in English? The thing is called, what are the things called with which people are generating electricity, which they are taking a lake and making a Hoover dam. What is with water? What is the thing doing it? It imprisons the water. Sorry, we have it imprisons the water. It's not, we have something better. So there are now many lakes and swamps. However, in Siberia there are plants to direct rivers southwards. There are plains to direct rivers southwards into the steppes and deserts there. Imagine, I don't know if it's true, but imagine, in the spring, the water cannot run to the north, and just in the spring, in these few weeks where the south is already thawed but not the north, the water is running the other way around, the other way down the river, and there is no water down there just for 2-3 weeks in which the water is not flowing upwards but downwards. It would be at least technically possible. I found a river where the water was flowing to the land and not to the ocean, even though it was just 10 meters far from the ocean. It was not a big river. So, in Siberia there are plains to direct the rivers southwards into the steppes and deserts there. So in Siberia there's also water running down to the deserts and steppes downwards. The Coniferous zone stretches for 13,000 kilometers, when around that, kilometers across North America, Europe and Asia. It is often known by its Russian name Taiga, which means swamp forest. Taiga written with A, T-A-I-G-A. I want to make a proper video, not under pressure. We just have around a minute and we actually don't even have it, we're already 3 minutes over time. That means that was the Coniferous forest part. That was the climatology part. If you are here for climatology, you can go directly to the next part of climatology. Then we're going to go fast about the Coniferous part again, and then we're going to continue probably with the desert part. If you stay here and participate in the Hiptraining, then it's already almost. Have a good and steady, no. Have a fit standing together, and we're doing the routine tree. Toes to the outside, toes. Heels and heels. Toes, heels. As far as you can go. And then again in. Knees are staying down, so stay down in the knees. Hip width apart, down into the knees, flex the legs, press them together. Straighten one leg slowly, press together, flex all time. And bend the leg. Press together, flex, straighten the other leg. Bend it again. A bit wider apart, down into the knees. Press together, flex. Go over to one side so the leg straightens. And back into the middle, press together, flex. Over to the other side. Back into the middle. A bit closer together and press to the outside. Next exercise. One leg up, finger to the outside, breathing in, out into the middle and down. Other leg up, to the outside, breathing in, into the middle and down. One toe onto the outside, lift it up and place it again onto the ground. Other leg onto the ground, lift it up, down. And now, one hand on tummy, one lower back, and lift the leg up and try to bring it higher. And pull it up. Other leg. Control with the hands that you don't hold back. and lift the leg up. Stand on one leg, this can go onto the knee, turn over to the leg, go down, over to the other side, and come up again. Other leg, stand good, turn over, go down, the other side, up again. And now, toes pointing to the outside, one length space between the heels, breathe and lift the arms up, and breathe out and sink down, elbows against the insides of the knees. Breathe in and straighten up, and out and come slowly towards straight line upwards. And breathe in the arms up, out and down, elbows against the inside of the knees, breathe in, straighten up, and out, up and one straight line. And slow. And the seesaw airplane. Have a good sitting leg. And the other leg comes back, arms to the side. And then again back. And again up. And now hiding airplane, pull the knee in and again out. Pull the knee in, out. And back. Now with the other leg. Leg up. And back and up. And leg out. And knee in and out. And back in. Legs wide apart, breathing around. Now around. Breathe in and cross the legs. And breathe again out. That was hip training. I thank you very much and next time.